Hello, this is the RPG Pundit, the final boss in Internet Shitlords. I hope you guys can hear me. I'm here, and okay, good. You guys can hear me. So this is the RPG Pundit Encounter. It's episode 15, and we're just going to, as usual here, I don't have any fancy video intros, so when we start. What did I do? Okay, there. Sorry, guys. Here I go again. So I'm just going to talk for a little bit while we build up the number of attendants, because I'm sure that there's people. It always takes like 5 or 10 minutes before we fill up, Travis, I see what you're saying there, and Domino was here just like a few minutes ago. DM Dad saw her backstage here, and she was being violent. She's had a violent evening. We just had like a kind of a monsoon here, and it was, she ended up going after the rain, right? And there were all kinds of like little bugs around and stuff. And she ended up hunting a giant centipede and a fairly large dragonfly, which I think was the biggest thing she's ever hunted so far. So like to recap, a couple of months ago when she was finally allowed to go outside by herself, she would bring back to the house like little leaves and twigs that she hunted, right? She hunted these leaves and twigs. And then the next phase, she had brought in like a scarab beetle once, and a cockroach, which I wasn't very happy about, but there we go. And now, like today, I see her coming in, and she's got a half-dead dragonfly that she's toying with, that she's brought into the house. Dragonflies here are pretty big, right? Like they're not teeny tiny. Let's put it that way. So she's developing a great talent for ultraviolence. Let's put it that way. All right. So while we are building up people here, I'm trying to see. I wish I understood how to do. Image file. That's it. Okay. I was trying to get an image file going here. You guys are gonna have to bear with me because, as you know, I'm an idiot when it comes to computers, and I never really know what I'm doing. But let me see if I can find even the thing I want. So I was, what was I going to say? I was thinking about my recent video where there have been a group of people that have been pissed off about old school essentials changing forever and whatever else, whatever you want to say about it. And here we go. All right. And what has happened is that old school essential is no longer a direct clone. So if you're pissed off at old school essentials, how about you give a Dragon Slayer a try, right? This is the cover that I really like out of the thing, because I was sent a PDF of Dragon Slayer, but it's the other cover, the like one that's like new style art. This one has this kind of classic look to it, which I really love. It's the monochrome edition. And I am not being paid to say any of this. It's just I was chatting with Greg Gillespie the other day, and I realized I hadn't promoted his work in quite a while, right? So I figured I should. He kind of hinted at that, and like Dragon Slayer is not an OSR game, right? But if you want a game, I mean, it's not a clone game. It's an OSR game. Sorry, it is an OSR game. It's not a clone game. It is instead a game that changes things around a bit. Not too much, but it does some stuff, right? And like key among that is probably the stuff like, wow, what the hell is that? Some combat rules and what have you. But also, it's got, some differences in class and race abilities. There's the Cyclops. You can play Cyclopses in them. I kind of like that. That's kind of funny. Geez, there's some noise going on out there. I don't know what Domino's up to. Is she just racing around like a maniac? What's going on? I just hear some noises over there. All right. Anyway, I'm sure Domino will show up if she needs me. I think there's some other cat that's on the roof or something. So try to check out, if you don't want to give your money to OSC anymore, check out Dragon Slayer by Greg Gillespie. He is best known for his incredible dungeons and his work on dungeons, particularly the Barrow Maze. So that might be where you could know him from if you've been an old-time OSR guy. Anyway, take a look at it, and I guess we'll leave it at that. Now I've got to see if I can remove this image. Okay, I think so. There we go. All right. So we're up to, what have we got? 16 people now? See if I can check here. Okay, well, it's only 6 minutes in, so we're about right. I think when we get to 10 minutes, we'll start. I'll remind everyone who's already here that on DnD Dad and Son, I say, oh, look at this. You guys wanted ultra violence. Here she is. Here she is. What have you been chasing, Domino? I heard you running like a maniac just recently. Why are you so bitey? Why do you always have to be bitey? These guys are going to think that all you ever do is bite. You know that? When you don't. Like, I wake up in the morning and she's like curled up right next to me and she's like, she just wants to be petted and stuff. The only problem with her is you never know, right? Like sometimes she'll come walking up really sweet, really loving and tender. And then you think, she wants to be petted, and then suddenly she starts biting like this. Now they're not hard bites. She's just wrestling, right? She just wants to fool around. But you're a little maniac. Why are you such a maniac? Look at you. Look at this. Look at what you've done to yourself now. How are you going to get out of this one, Domino? You're very young still. You got to learn these things. Look at you. Oh, I love you. You're so funny, Domino. I'm sure everybody here like. Now, guys, I was about to say just before Domino showed up that you picked a good moment to come here. Yeah, you did. It's a good moment. So, if you guys, you'll note that we are going to take your questions and your comments as well as my own questions and for DM Dad, and you don't have to do a super chat for me to read your questions. You just have to see if I think it's an interesting question, right? And of course, if you do a super chat, then I will read out your comment out loud, as long as it wouldn't mean I'd get banned by YouTube. And all the super chats go to the Domino Toy Fund and possibly therapy for her ultraviolence. I don't know how we're going to handle this. You killed a giant centipede. I think that makes you like level 2 now, doesn't it? Yeah. All right. So now she's on my lap. And she's getting snuggly. So if you want to support the Domino Anti-Violence Toy Fund, or maybe Violent Toy Fund, I don't know, send us a super chat. And we will be very grateful for it. But unlike some other channels, it's not. We don't only read the people who, the comments from people who give super chats. I base it on meritocracy, not plutocracy. Let's put it that way. All right, so we're now. We're about 30 seconds away from 10 minutes. So I think it's about time that I introduce my actual guest. Some of you may know his channel. I was on his channel not that long ago, where I was I received a very amusing call-out video that he had recorded, which is like fake challenging me or whatever, right? Which I thought was really funny, and it was obviously that sort of thing. And so then he invited me to come on, and I talked to him and one of his kids, and it was a very nice time. So now I'm returning the favor, so to say, and now DM Dad is going to be my special guest today, where we are going to interview him and find out what he's about. Some of you might never have heard of him before. Some of you may have been watching his channel for a while now. So I guess without further ado, here comes DM Dad.
Hey, hello everybody, and thank you, Pundit, for having me on. I really appreciate it. It's great to see everybody in the chat, and yeah, thank you for having me.
Good.
Smoking Argento roots and
yeah, that's right, Argento roots.
Yeah.
Okay, so I don't know if you've watched any of the Pundit Encounter videos, but it's fixed interview sort of format, and in particular in every single episode, I start with the same question to every one of my interview subjects. Also, the last question is the same for everyone. So the opening question that I give to everybody, first of all, I'll say, I'll give a bit of an introduction about you to everybody in the audience who might not be aware. So DM Dad and Son, it has a YouTube channel where they mostly, or for at least for the majority of the history of the channel, had been doing essentially live plays of DM Dad playing with his kids in dungeon type adventures and kind of old school D&D. But he's also had a few videos that have been, and I think I don't know if I'm correct, but I suspect that you are increasing the number of these videos that are not just live plays, but rather commentaries of different kinds. Yeah. And it's very interesting, right? And it's I guess I would say it's a pretty wholesome channel compared to my own or a lot of the a lot of the miscellaneous scumbags of the OSR, you know. But it's neat to watch. And incidentally, DM Dad has come on here. I had invited him, I guess, a couple of weeks ago to be on here, or a week and a half ago or so, and he had accepted. But like a couple of days ago, he just had his 6th child, right? And right. So I was a little bit concerned that he might cancel. But like a real trooper, he knows his priorities, and he came on the show.
Yeah, of course. So
all that said, the opening question is this: in your context as being a person who has, I guess you could say a YouTube influencer in the area of role-playing games, who has been good to you and who has been bad to you?
Well, people in the OSR have been good to me, people that, like that old style of play, old-fashioned games that like love that kind of that vibe and that spirit of the old times that we all appreciate. The OSR has been good to me. The people that have been bad to me are, when I basically the Ginny D fans and the what was the guy's name? He looks like the garden gnome. He's D&D Shorts, that guy.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, 6 kids. Yeah, this is number 6. It's so I'll get back to the question again, Pundit, but yeah, the 6 kids. So yeah, it was kind of planned, but yeah, we were hoping for a 6th kid. We just didn't think it would come after a while because it was taking some time. But it was not a uneventful delivery. Like it took a very long time. Things weren't going too normally. After the baby was out, I had to rush her to the hospital. It was a home birth. I had to rush her to the hospital, and she had a retained placenta, and so basically she was just bleeding out. Like she would continue to bleed until she died if I didn't get her medical attention. So it was a close one, but you know,
Well,
there was
it's a
lots.
good thing that we live in the modern post-industrial age. Like,
Yeah. Had we not, I would have lost her after my fifth one, because we did have a problem like that too. So, but yeah, but everything's okay. Mom's healthy, baby's healthy, and yeah, we're kind of getting back into the swing of it a little bit. But yeah, it's going to be a little bit of recovery for her, and might be a little bit of time before I'm back into the swing on the channel. But probably I'm going to be in the Condor DM's illustrious club of semen retention for the next little while the wife is worried. I think that I think that well, this will be the last one, because physically we just can't anymore, because she's
your oldest kid is in their late teens or something like that.
Yeah,
right?
Josh is 17. He's going to be 18 next August. So, he's got.
That's quite a range.
Yeah, it is. I was thinking about that today too. It's like, wow, like I have a 17-year-old, and now I've got this tiny little new baby. And it's like, I've got a kid who's basically going to be, going out into the world right around the time when I'm introducing one as a brand new baby. And it's like, I don't know if they'll really know each other very well, but I kind of grew up like that. I grew up in a big family too. So, but yeah. But no, my wife's, she's going to need a hysterectomy. So that'll be it for us. But we got our 6 players. So the number
right.
6.
You got a full party table there.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah. So it's a lot of fun. I love playing with my kids. I love playing with family. It is so fun, you guys. Like we have a riot. Like, I don't know if it's annoying to watch on the channel, but like there's always lots of laughter, because we're just joking around. We're having so much fun. You can just really tell. And the thing about like playing with your kids, or playing with people that's like close family, or friends, like you don't have to worry about stupid issues at the table, or or even really schedules. Like if they're within your own household and you're playing with those people, you're all together, that you're all available. You just kind of jump in and
you can do it impromptu.
Yeah.
Well, I for a while had a kind of a bias against people playing with their kids, right? Playing D&D or RPGs with their kids. I was saying, well, like if I was thinking in my own context, right? If my dad, who absolutely this would never have happened, right? But if my dad had been into D&D and had introduced me at like, I don't know, the age of 10 to Dungeons and Dragons, then I probably would have liked it then. But by the time I became a teenager, I would be thinking, oh, this is the dorky thing my dad does, right? And dropped off from it, right? And I mean, like that even happens to, I was talking to other family vloggers that are family D&D playing people, right? I mean to say that some of them, I forget who it was, that commented to me that we have the girls were playing D&D for a while, but then they all quit, they didn't want to. That sort of thing. So like my argument as a pundit of RPGs was, don't make your kids sit down on the table and play with you. But like if they get to the age where they're old enough, like, your books are right there, right? Let them read the RPG books that you've got. Let them think it's cool. But then if they're going to do it, let them do it themselves, right? But I have to say that yourself and a few other cases have kind of softened me on that, right? Because it seems that I guess it can depend on the nature of the family and just what the family dynamics are, I guess you could say.
Yeah, I think that plays a part. I mean, there's certainly a lot to be said about like turning kids off to it, because you're like, okay, it's play night, kids. Shut your electronics off, and we're having
Well,
fun doing this, you know.
Do any of your kids, have any of them basically express that they're not interested in playing,
yeah, sometimes little Katie, right? So she's the youngest that's actually playing, and she'll be
so
like,
that's like an attention span issue, right?
yeah, she's 9, and so she's kind of like, I don't want to play tonight, or she'll start playing and she's like, I don't want to play D&D anymore. Oh, okay. That's all right. We'll make do.
Just write her out of the rest of the adventure, I guess.
Yeah, or we'll just
that is a young age to start, like
yeah, oh yeah, and I started my other kids even younger than that, I think. But yeah, it's young enough that you don't want to like make it a chore, So if they're like, I don't want to play.
Yeah, no, I mean you can't do that, right?
That's fine.
And the older kids, have any of them passed on D&D play to their friends, right? Like, do any of your kids, are they DMs of their own peer group or something like that, or?
They have been. Josh has circles of friends who have played or do play D&D, and so some of that is independent of what I had him do. He just happened to find other kids who've already played it or were open to playing it. So yeah, so he does that. And Abigail, not really, because like her friends, like they're all girls, and so they're just not really into it.
Wait, are you telling me that D&D doesn't appeal to girls? Like, are you telling me all the girl powers but I mean, like 70% of the characters in a D&D setting are Black women. How could that not appeal to girls? Right?
Yeah,
like,
yeah. Maybe if she finds some more black girlfriends, then maybe that might work out. Yeah, but yeah, I think that some have played, but it'd be like with their older siblings and stuff like that, and I don't know. So I mean, there's it on a limited basis, yeah. So, sorry, I was just gonna say, going back to the initial question, like who's been good to me, who's been bad. I kind of skipped around. The D&D shorts, because like D&D shorts did like a video about women in early D&D, and but he did it through the lens of like a woke retard, basically. And so like to me, I look at those rules, and he made it seem like they were a lot more official than they really were. It was kind of out of like Dragon magazine mostly. So
most of it was nothing to do with it.
And I looked at it and it's kind of like, actually, like that's not really that off the wall to me, because like it was just kind of like acknowledging like physical differences between men and women, and power dynamics and things like that. And that seems like reasonable to put into like a role-playing game, but like to them it's like
he wasn't the first one to do this nonsense, right? Like they've been going after Gary Gygax on that note for a long time.
I know. And to them it's like sacrilege to like suggest that there's some kind of not a
biological difference.
Yeah, that's right. Between the men and the women. Acknowledge biological
my perspective, because for example, I don't do any kind of like specific gender limits to ability scores or things like that in any of my games. But the reason for that is because it is presumed that the player characters can be exceptional, right? And you can, and if you're only going on the scale of 3 to 18, then it is not unfathomable that a woman could have an 18 strength, for example, right? They could. It would be rarer in the setting, right? Like because maybe the average strength of a male adult human might be 11, and the average strength of a female adult human might be 9, right? But there will be female adult humans that could have an 18 strength, right? So I'm not going to really worry about that level of minutia in terms of simulationism, but that doesn't mean that there isn't in the setting that there isn't a difference, right? It's just that if you're playing a female character and she's got a really high stat in strength or con or whatever, it's just she's particularly exceptional, and that's it.
Yeah, and you know, like if someone like, because you're right, like the more like minute you get, the more it really kind of complicates everything and drags. And so like, and I don't have a problem at all with like people who are like, no, I just, you know, do the normal D&D thing where it's like, you know, men and women are totally the same. That's what I do in my home games and everything. I was just like responding to the idea that it's not a crazy idea, and I was kind of coming at it kind of at like the point of view of the assumptions, the underlying assumptions. Like basically this guy is trying to pass off to us that, you know, there's fundamentally no discernible difference between men and women.
Which is complete nonsense in every sense.
Yeah. And yeah.
I mean, I don't know if you saw the interview I just did before yours with the dungeon minister, right? Who's an actual Anglican cleric, right? We had a very interesting discussion there about whether in I don't know how biblical you are, right? But in First Timothy chapter 2, it talks about the prohibition on women preachers, right? And essentially the argument that, well, you know, this is maybe a bioessentialist argument. Yeah, I got mine hanging up back there. But anyway, you can see it there. And so like, you know, like it's even like the quality of by default, right? Because there are always outliers, right? But by default, there are qualities that women have that make them better at certain things and worse at others, right? And there are qualities men have that make them better at certain things and worse than others. And they're not the same. They're not the same strengths and weaknesses, right? No. So there are roles which a person will fit into more naturally. And we know this because like in Norway and Sweden, the most advanced and most feminist countries in the world where a woman can do anything she wants to, they are, for the most part, taking careers in like more feminine jobs, right? It's you have to go to like a place like India if you want to find a whole bunch of like female Indian chemists, you know, and computer programmers and stuff like that, because they're so poor that they're doing that because they need the financial stability, right? Whereas in the rich countries, women will fall, even in the most feminist ones, they'll fall back to the default, you know.
That's because that's what they want to do, you know what I mean? That's what's fulfilling for them. And they're kind of sold a lie. Yeah, feminism's selling them a lie. It's trying to make them into men. And they're, you know, it's that they're not where they're going to find their highest fulfillment. It's just not. They're going to find their highest fulfillment in a loving family.
So did D&D Shorts come after you for this?
No, he did not. I'm way too small potatoes. I think he didn't even notice, but his fans came after me a little bit. So
well, that's good. Yeah. That counts. Yeah.
Yeah. Sure. So his fans, you know, so I had some amusing couple of days reading their messages and stuff like that. You know, it wasn't really terrible because I can't take them seriously. You know what I mean? Like I really have a hard time, like being too wounded by anything they say, because like it's them saying it, you know. So it's like, well, you know,
I frequently used whenever because I've been doing this for 20 years now, right? And I've been making a lot of use from time to time with of that meme of you know, your boos mean nothing to me. I've seen what you applaud, you know. Like,
yes, yeah, that's right. Yeah, so and I often think like, if I could like see what the person on the other end of the keyboard was like, they'd probably look a lot like the memes that you see, or you know, some Antifa, you know, tweaker or whatever you call them.
Little side note here to the audience. Domino has just jumped off my lap, but after our wrestling, which you guys got to see in the camera, she was sitting on my lap. She was letting me pet her. She was all adorable and snuggly. Now she's run off to chase something. I don't know what, but there you go. We're up to, I think, 27 people here now, which is not bad, but I'm sure there's going to be a few more coming in. 28 now. So again, this video is not being monetized while it's live. If you are kind enough to want to send in a super chat to donate to Domino's, her cat toy fund and possibly her future training as an Olympian wrestler or something. Then you'll be very, I'll be very grateful to you. But we will look at some of the comments that the audience has, and you don't have to do a super chat for me to read it out. Of course, if you do a super chat, I will read it out, unless it would get me banned from YouTube, which it might, knowing some of my audience. So that's the only rejoinder. We've got a lot of people talking about their things their dad made them play, and D&D Shorts is part of the Seattle D&D paradigm. Yeah, that's true. And anything else? We're about caught up. So what got you started doing a YouTube channel? Because were you playing with your kids before you started the channel?
I was. Yeah. So what got me started on a YouTube channel was like, I just felt like I kind of wanted to record what we were doing together, you know what I mean? And then natural from there was like, oh yeah, I guess we could put that up online. But also, like, I'm a fan of like other people's D&D channels, and I just thought, oh man, I would love to interact with these people and be in the same space. And so like I put my stuff out there and just have a good time with it. But yeah, no, I started my kids off with Swords and Wizardry. Oh gosh, what year is it? Yeah, probably 10 years ago, something like that. And so Josh would have been about seven or eight. Mm-hmm. And so we ran a pretty epic but pretty like spotty, a lot of hiatus campaign in there for some years, but we did finish it off with a super epic fight at the end. And then we kind of switched over into playing OSC. I became an OSC tard.
We're going to be talking a bit more about OSC in a little bit. I want your opinion on the recent.
Okay, we'll save that for later.
I got a few super chats, if you don't mind. I'm going to
go for it.
For a moment to bring them in here. Death Angel's Shadow. Didn't you hear? A 15-year scientific study just concluded that there is a difference between biological males and females. Every 5-year-old knows that. Thank you, Death Angel's Shadow. Number 2. OSR Dwarf, $10. Thank you very much. Topping off the tip jar. Commies are all orcs. Just leaving that here. Thank you very much. And down here we have Sadwings Raging, $10. Domino Studded Leather Armor Fund. Thank you.
Yes.
Travis Fover also had a question for you. What is Ryan's favorite adventure of all time?
Oh, that's a good question. I'm probably not a great person to ask that, because like most of what I've done has been my own stuff, just coming out of my head. And early on in play, because like I used to run stuff for my brothers when I was young, and it was always like the seat of my pants. Like I would have like no plan before we even down. And then
Are you the firstborn in your family?
Was that?
Are you the firstborn in your family? Are you the oldest kid?
No, I'm number 7 out of 8 kids.
Oh. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
you were the younger, and you were running for your older siblings. Is that right?
Well, I had my older brother and my younger brother, so us last 3 kids, and so
that's a big family.
Yeah. You get a family that large, and kind of like the older kids they're doing their own thing, and then you kind of have phases of family, right? So that's. I would run for them, and then so it's always been like I don't know.
You haven't been a big adventure buying guy. You make your own.
Yeah, and I think back then I was probably pretty terrible as a DM. You know what I mean? I think the internet, like watching other people do it and really kind of absorbing a lot of that, really helps. But we have been playing B2 Keep on the Borderlands, and it's just kind of like
one of the best.
Yeah, that's right. So like I thought, you know what, let's because I kind of have a new phase of my kids that are, growing up into it, let's start them off with B2.
That's
you know,
the best
and
place.
cut their teeth.
The original one, right? You're not talking about
Yeah.
the 5e one, right?
Oh, no. The original. It's in fact, I've got it somewhere right here. It's the original from the 80s. Yeah. I inherited it, and I'm actually using it to run the game. So I would have to say B2, but in fairness, that could be like the only module I really have ever run. But
Well, there you
actually, but that won't be that way for long, because I recently printed off Travis's. I'm going to take this Barrel of the Unbroken King, and I'm going to be. I got it printed off at Staples. I'm going to be running this as like a bit of a segue off of.
Is that Travis who is on our chat right now?
Yes. Yeah, the same Travis.
All right, Travis. So I'm sorry to say I don't think I recognize you, but maybe you're, unless you're going by some other name on on YouTube or something, or what have you. But that looks interesting. Is it just a? Is that actually like a new thing, or is this an OSR adventure maker that I just haven't run into?
I think Travis has had Kickstarters in the past, but this is the first. He's coming out with some modules as part of his Kickstarter for Full Metal Tilt, which is like a jousting, like rules agnostic system.
I think I saw something about that the other day. Yeah.
So this is like a module that's included with that, and so I'm going to be like play testing it for Travis with my kids. It'll just be like a little side adventure, and then we'll bring it back. And
that's cool, but it's competing with one of my products, you know. There's a Fundit Files issue that's all about jousting. But
is that right?
I think they take a very different tact, because I've seen that like this is to like, if you're going to be running like long tournaments of jousts and things like that, right? Like that's the mechanic. I think Travis's mechanics are more sophisticated than mine for sure. So
well, that's cool. You guys could probably do an interesting jousting video. Yeah. So I was
very interested in the history of jousts, right? Because like what they looked like at the very beginning, like in the early medieval, and what they were by the end of the medieval period were totally different things. Right at the beginning, it was like military training or dueling basically on horseback, and by the end of it, it was a sport, right? Like it was minimizing all risk, you know.
Yeah, for sure.
Very cool. Well, there you go, Travis. You got some great free publicity there, and who knows? Maybe I'll have you on an episode of the RPG Pundit Encounter sometime soon.
Yeah, Travis is great. I had him on my channel too, and we talked about his Kickstarter, and it looks really awesome. I just pledged today, so people can go check it out. But yeah, as far as like I haven't played a ton of modules. I'm not Mr. like module guy. I guess
can I interrupt you one more time here? Do you know the name of the Kickstarter? Or Travis, do you want to share the name? You can't put a link because it'll block you, right? But you can give us the title of your Kickstarter, and then people can find it on Kickstarter, I'm sure. Anyway, carry on. Meanwhile, if Travis wants to do that, he's welcome to.
Yeah. So let me back up the train, because I want to give you an idea of like how I first found out about D&D. You know what I mean? Because like I think we all have that magical moment, where we were like, wow, what is this? And then we discover this whole new world, and now it's become a very interesting part of our lives. We invest our time into it and everything, because it's we derive a lot of pleasure out of it. But I was, it must have been early 90s. I had a brother-in-law who, was over like Christmas holidays, had brought his first edition books in, and he had my other brother-in-law and, some of my older brothers downstairs in the basement at this table. And I came down there to kind of, came down the stairs, and I saw them like kind of around the table. And then I just heard my brother-in-law narrating to them about how, you know, there was this table with orcs, and there was this orc. It was very descriptive. He was like carving into the table with his knife. You know what I mean? And then he asked him, you know, what do you want to do? And like, I was watching this and I was like, I could tell it was a game, you know, but I was totally perplexed because it was like, what am I watching? Like that kind of a detail, a description where he's carving his knife into the table. It's like, you don't get that from like a normal board game. You know what I mean? And I was like, I was so confused. And I asked him, I was like, where's the board? You know, because like I just like I could tell they were doing a game, but I couldn't see any board. It was like theater mind. They had no miniatures.
Yeah.
And they ignored me, like they didn't say anything. But like I was able to like piece together like the concepts of like what this game is and how you play it over some time. And I just became, you know, pretty enthralled with it as a kid. And so that was my very first exposure to role-playing games. It was first edition. Now as I got a little bit older, I, you know, kind of got swept up in the Palladium games, like Rift stuff, and
yeah,
you know, those sort of things. Yeah, so I bought those. I ran Rifts for my brothers for, you know, quite a bit, and I think they have good memories of that, but you know, they probably don't have anything to compare it to because I was probably, like I say, like a pretty terrible DM as a kid. And then, you know, I get older and I start like into my career and stuff. And to help like manage stress of like doing my accountancy studies and things like that, I, you know, kind of got back into, you know, RPG stuff a little bit, you know, so I got like a free copy of Swords and Wizardry, Matt Finch's like free version online. And, you know, I printed that out at Staples. And then, you know, I had a little boy and a little girl. And so I, you know, would start introducing them to it a little bit. And you know, we got a little campaign going and yeah, and then kind of connects up with what I had already described earlier. We kind of graduated to OSC after that, and now we're doing Dragon Slayer, which is freaking awesome. Yeah.
Oh wow, like coincidence. That's the classic. That's the cover that I was sent in PDF by Greg a while back.
Yeah, this is the Jeff Easley.
Like I said, I like the old school style cover better, but there you go.
Yeah, it's pretty rocking cover. I love both of them. I just happen to have this one. I love it it's got this orange spine on it, and it's got the fade in the back as well. So
yeah, the back looks pretty classic too.
Yeah. So it's like you know,
it's very reminiscent of the DnD style. Yeah.
Yeah, it's great.
That
and that's what you can expect from these products.
You've got Dragon Slayer. Have you? Because you say you don't play any modules, right? But so you've never.
Well, not in the past. Now I do default to modules quite a bit because I just realize it's just really convenient for prep and stuff. Because like at this point in my life, I'm very busy. I've got all the kids and stuff. I've got a job that, you know, it takes a lot of time. Like it's a pretty demanding job, and then I bought a house that is like a total fixer-upper, so I'm spending like my weekends like doing reno work and stuff like that. And also for the past several months, I was like, you know, aggressively job hunting as well on the side. And so it was just like a lot of stuff going on, and you know, so the D&D stuff was to kind of manage the stress of all that a little bit. You know. It's a good time.
Have you checked out Greg Gillespie's Barrow Maze? Because that's the thing that made him famous, right? Like that's and it is one of the best dungeons I've ever run. You know, so.
Oh gosh, yeah. So I have all of Greg Gillespie's mega dungeons, and I have his mega dungeon monster manual. All my books right now are boxed up, except for just a few that I have here. But but yes, I have it, and I have like read through it quite a bit to prep for it. My plan is to like transition from B2 into Barrow Maze. And so that's why I think, it's another reason why I think Travis's Barrow of the Unbroken King would be a bit of a nice segue, because this is kind of based in Barrow Maze kind of mythos in the tradition of Barrow Maze. So I think that's going to be a nice way to do it. But yeah, like modules now, like as a kid, like I kind of almost despise the idea of modules, because I'm like, I don't want to like play somebody else's thing. That kind of seemed, like just kind of manufactured. But like as I got older, it's like, actually, you know what? I don't have time to like come up with some kind of world or whatever. Like someone else has already done it. I'm just gonna, if it's plug and play, that's awesome. That's exactly what I'm looking for.
That's what the OSR does, It's plug and play everything, pretty much.
Yeah.
So I don't think I've ever had an opportunity to make this particular question with somebody else, because most of the people I interview don't have a YouTube channel with their family, right? But I know that recently there's been, in like the YouTube world, a lot of kind of discussion and controversy about YouTube channels that have parents showing their kids on YouTube, right? And I think that's more for like these kind of family channels, which are often like very, very fake and desperate for getting views and things like that. And like, I know that you're just basically showing the videos of you playing D&D with your kids, right? So I don't know if that's not. But have you ever run into any controversy about that? Has anyone ever like
not really
said anything about it?
Well, some most of like the like a D&D shorts hater or something would like they might say something like, oh my gosh, like one guy said well, they might say how I'm a terrible dad, or but like it's just like projecting on their own faults. But like, or they'll say like, "Oh, look, this is so boring," or you're telling that the one girl, which is Katie, like the youngest one, that she's her ideas are dumb, and like I don't remember doing that. but yeah, like I don't know. So they'll kind of like criticize you as a dad, as a father. That's like I kind of experienced.
Yeah, I mean that's one of the things that tends to happen with some people that there are some people that just have an issue with that on YouTube. And
and like
I mean there's some legitimate cases, right? There's the whole like, Ruby Frankie thing and something like that, but I mean that's the far extremes, that's kind of like having my whole family like on the internet all the time to make money. But I don't know. I kind of feel like, I'm guessing you're not like, raking in millions of dollars from your channel. So
no, we're not monetized. And I kind of like if we ever get monetized, that'll be great. I'm not really, like I say, my life is so busy. I'm not really making it the front and the center thing for me. It's just like, this is what I like to do for fun, and I like to like kind of share it with people. And I know that there's a lot of people out there that like to see that kind of thing online, and so and I like to see their stuff, and so we just kind of like share it. But so it's a great time. As far as like having your whole family on the internet like that, I think I mean, kudos to them for like finding a revenue stream like that. That's like just having family togetherness. I think that's cool. But I do think there's a lot of potential for issues there, and we have seen some of that come along. And there
are definitely some channels that are probably exploitative of the kids. But I think those are actually the minority, probably. Like.
Probably, yeah. Mostly, but you know what? These young kids, like little kids, like I see the kind of thing that they'll sit and watch on YouTube and like just kind of mindless stuff, or like watching other kids do kid things, and they'll just sit and watch that. And so there's a market for it, believe it or not. But
it's really weird, because it also means that like the Gen Alpha kids are like they have no there's no connection. Like, you know, we used to have like a common culture, right? We'd all watch the same TV shows and stuff like that, right? Now, like, you know, by generation, nobody does, right? Like millennials watch stuff on YouTube that Gen Xers like we don't watch, and then Gen Zs watch things that millennials would never watch, and Gen Alphas are, I don't know, they're talking about 6 and 7s, you know, like nobody gets the joke except them, you know.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, no, I think Matt Walsh was saying that recently too. Same exact thing. Yeah, we used to have like a common, you know, focus of, you know, with our entertainment and, you know, things that we do. But now it's like everyone is so like going their own way with everything. And yeah, it does complicate the landscape quite a bit. For good and ill, maybe, I don't know, but I will say that you know, there's a lot of negativity about the internet, and there's a lot of positivity about the internet. And
well, I mean, there's family blogging or vlogging or whatever.
Yeah.
Obviously, there's a possibility that if someone's doing it like as a career, then you know it makes sense that there are certain things that you probably shouldn't do, and that there's an argument for making certain safeguards, especially, you know, if you're talking about basically the kids are essentially kind of like child actors or something like that, right? And so you have those kind of protections. And in a strange way, they're kind of panel, right? But on the other hand, you know, like this is the equivalent of, you know, our parents would go around with the, you know, the old timey cameras and take pictures and make, you know, photo albums, right? Or maybe they'd have like a Super 8 or something, right? And they'd be filming, you know, really bad little movies about it. And I think that's the equivalent to that now is if you're, you know, doing a family vlog, right? It's something that's going to stay there, and it'll probably be something that'll be accessible to your kids when they have kids or something like that, you know? So it's
right.
I don't think that there's if you're not being exploitative, I don't think there's anything wrong with it, you know?
Yeah. I think inherently there's not anything inherently wrong with it, but like I say, I do think there are opportunities for abuse of that, which is where, you know, where people find. I think that's why people get upset, is because those situations happen, and then they, you know, they easily see that, and then people get, you know, people notice. So
yeah, and it definitely has happened on some occasions, as we found out in the, you know, true crime reports and things like that. But do you at present, do you do any other gaming aside from with your family, or is it pretty much just with you and the kids?
Not really. Just because I'm so busy. Like I did have, like, interestingly, like there are groups at church that do D&D and like independent of me, and I have been invited into that, but it was 5e, and like I'd have to like go, like commit to going and being there.
So wait, have you just admitted that you're in a liberal church?
No, that's just their younger people. So the 5e is like,
well, I mean, you've got to look. You have a spiritual responsibility to like go in there, be like the D&D youth pastor, and sort these kids out and have them playing OSR games instead of that degenerate 5e stuff. You know,
I know.
I say that as one of the people who created 5e. So
right, yeah, it went off the rails. Yeah. Well, you know, I have talked to that guy about, hey, you know, like here's old school. Like I don't know if he'd be interested in playing, you know, old school stuff. But anyway, like he does his thing, I do mine, and whatever. I just couldn't really commit to make the time commitment, really. Like I felt like I'm not sure I got time for that. I wasn't totally uninterested in it, but it was 5e at the same time, so it's, you know, I wasn't gonna like rearrange my whole schedule for 5e. But
well, I don't know, get them playing Baptism of Fire.
Yeah.
It's a good Christian role-playing game, like you're playing Polish Christians fighting pagan monsters,
Yeah. Smash paganism, right?
Although I guess I don't know if you're Protestant. This is it's more of a Catholic game. So
no, I'm Latter-day Saint Mormon. So
Mormon. Okay, well that subtly makes sense both with the D&D playing, because I mean I spoke to Sandy Peterson, who's a fellow Mormon, right? And
yes,
and he's pointed out that there's Mormons like D&D quite a lot apparently, and also the whole thing of family vlogging, right? I believe that there was one of your presidents, not the current one or the one I don't even think it was the one before that, but at some point, one of your presidents had said I think in one of your conferences that Mormons should use the internet to show the family values of Mormonism, right? And that led to I know this because of my I'm an academic of comparative religion, right? Mm-hmm. And so they created thousands of at the time it was blogs, right? Because this was pre-YouTube. Well, YouTube was around, but it hadn't hit there. And then there's a ton of Mormon family vloggers too, right? So
I think you're right.
Following a tradition there, I guess.
Yeah. It sounds like M. Russell Ballard. He was like a senior apostle. Yeah. And he specifically mentioned blogs as like a way to kind of,
Yeah. I think it kind of worked, because it was part of it. There was a time not that long ago that in America, most other denominations would have said, Mormons are these weirdos, they're not even Christians. So, and then like in the course of the last 15, 20 years, that's changed, right? Like most, the conservative Christian movement has pretty much accepted Mormonism as one of their own,
Well, I mean, maybe they tolerate us better. I don't know. And
I know there's still obviously there's some guys that are going to have issues with some of the different theology and the Book of Mormon and stuff like that. But it's I think there's a big change from when I started studying comparative religion in the 90s. The perspectives were like the level of disdain for Mormonism among mainline Protestant groups and Catholics was a lot different than it is today.
I mean, and if someone doesn't want to believe our doctrine, that's fair game to me. Like, you believe what you want, man. Like, seriously, but like if they don't have disdain for us, then that makes me happy. Like if we can at least be friends, that's good. But there is a fundamental divide there because of our beliefs about the nature of God and just what the Godhead is and what that looks like. It's not it's divorced completely from any kind of creedal construction of ideas of God. And so a lot your conventional Christians will look at what looks to them like some weird new age religion and be like, these guys don't even believe in the creeds. That's not Christian. You know what I mean? But to us, it's like, we don't have like creeds anywhere as part of a definition of Christianity. To us, that's the corruption of Christianity, right? So, or part of it, right? So, so that's why a lot of that, Christian or not Christian, and you're always going to get, people who will see things that way is like, oh, well, they reject the creeds. Their idea of God is not, one being with three personalities. So they're just not Christian. You know what I mean? Like, I can't define them that way.
It's central, right? Because
and that's because of how they define what a Christian is or what a Christian ought to believe. So I don't agree with that, but The thing is, like, I have a lot of values in common with, Protestants and things like that. And so I really appreciate them, Protestants and Catholics, for that kind of the shared values that we have against the enemy that we all face today, which is Marxism, essentially, and other evils but mainly Marxism today, and that kind of are beating down our door into our entertainment, into our news media, our academia, brainwashing our children and things like that. And so I think there's a lot we can unite on to stand against that kind of filth and garbage.
Yeah, and I think that's also been a part of it, right? Is that over the last 20, 25 years, there's been a lot more unity among Christian groups, specifically because of the onslaught of secularism and, as you say, Marxism and even things like Islamic extremism. That's more so in Europe, but still.
But it's making its way
also,
here.
Very much so.
Yeah, and that's something that can't be ignored, because there's not a lot of people that are having 6 kids anymore. But
that's also true.
The
only group in the United States that are actually reproducing at a rate beyond
replacement,
beyond the limit of actual population growth.
Yeah. And so it's concerning because I look at Islam and I look at communism as like 2 prongs of the same beast. You know what I mean? Because ultimately the end game would be the same, total, if either of them won the day, it would be total conquest of our hearts, minds, and freedom, and so that's the type of thing that we have to resist. But as far my son that was born just the other day, I gave him a name of a great American patriot. We called him Benson, and he's named after Ezra Taft Benson, who was that great American patriot. He was the Secretary of Agriculture in the Eisenhower cabinet, and a staunch pro-American anti-communist, and he was an apostle in my church, and became its president, its 13th president. So we think very fondly of him. Lots of fond feelings around him, and just the Americanism of it, And I'm not even American. I'm Canadian living in America, but I love America. I love America, and I love the principles of the founding fathers, and that to me is actually enshrined within my faith. It's actually it's an article of faith, so to speak, or it's a feature in my religion's doctrine that the Constitution of the United States is an inspired document. So I look at it as not just a wise thing and this that built the greatest nation on earth. I actually look at it as heaven sent. So
it was guided by providence.
Yes.
I'd be willing to agree with that.
Yeah.
So are you from a part of Canada that's going to shortly become a part of the United States?
I hope so.
Alberta or Saskatchewan,
Yeah, I'm an Alberta boy. Yeah,
I was too. I mentioned that last time when we talked.
Yeah, we did, because we're both part of the Alberta Grand Lodge, or were, right? I guess you had that switched. Right. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So I grew up in Southern Alberta.
But when I was in Alberta, that's where I started.
Yeah. So if Alberta became a state, that would sure make things less complicated for me.
Yeah, really. Yeah. Let's hope.
Yeah.
So Are your kids familiar with like fifth edition, and what do they think about it?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of keep them like my older son Josh. He kind of like scans the landscape a little bit himself, and he knows what's going on with that. But like, I also kind of keep my kids abreast of like the retarded crap that we get from WotC, and like, like for instance, the recent one in like the gay village, and they're,
No, like, I was going to say you could show your kids my videos, but I think I probably swear too much for that, so maybe not.
Yours isn't nearly as bad as some of the others, but it's yeah, but yeah. So I keep them updated on like the latest cringy stuff that WotC has done. And and kind of juxtapose it with just kind of the straight, like, cool adventure stuff that we do. And they can tell like what's cool and what's not. They know, like, oh, that's just
I mean, and the younger generations, the Gen Zs and the Gen Alphas are very aware of how uncool the kind of the social justice nonsense has become from their point of view, right? Because it's to them it's their oppressor, like it
is. Yeah, it's completely the institution now, and it's so absolutely, and that's a good thing that they are, I love all the pushback that we're getting, this cultural pushback to all of that nonsense, because like I never stopped giving that pushback. I never like started to conform or anything like that. I just like, and that kind of won me some awkwardness socially a little bit, because, around 2017, 2018, like there's just certain things you just don't say or whatever, but like even around family and stuff like that. So, but like I always kind of held my ground, and I never. Yeah, so now I feel like everyone else is like coming back around to where I'm at, and so it's really great to see. I love it.
Yeah, it's shifting back. Well, like I can tell you, I spent a lot of time being the lone voice in the wilderness before it started to change, right? And there's a world of difference between like what things were like in 2015 and what they're like now.
Oh yeah.
Suddenly, I'm just one in a crowd. I used to be like the only guy in RPGs that was like talking about how this is all bullshit, way back then,
Yeah. And back then you just, that was brave to do, Yeah. So,
yes.
Yeah, but it's nuts. Actually, as soon as Trump got elected, the winds changed, because like all of a sudden, like people, I feel like they felt like they could just kind of exhale and let all this stuff out now, and so that's what we're seeing. So oh, thank goodness.
So bringing it back a bit to your gaming, obviously it sounds like you run a lot of kind of dungeon crawl scenarios and fairly straightforward sort of stuff, which probably makes sense for the ages of the people playing. But do you do it as a campaign within a larger setting? And is that a setting that you've invented, or is it basically just that they're kind of like going from one dungeon or adventure to another without particular world building?
Yeah, there's not a lot of world building, I'm afraid. It's kind of only like a vague conception of like any kind of world building. I do have a fundamental idea of the religious landscape of the game world. So that is, basically like a medieval Christian church type thing, but it's, not explicitly Christian, but it is very, very reminiscent of medieval Christian. I have, had sessions where the NPC cleric has, explained some of the foundational doctrine to, the player characters, and he like, he's telling like a creation story and why like they're, they have fire and water in their chapels. So they have like a braziers that have like fire, and then they'll have like one that has water in it, and it's just this concept of regeneration and things like that. So it's clearly like Christian-esque, but it's not explicitly so. And so just because I wanted to preserve the like a medieval feel. I think that's important in a D&D campaign that's supposed to be, medieval fantasy. You've got to have some kind of authenticity, some kind of touchstone to like, something that's reminiscent of the medieval European environment. Otherwise you lose your way and it gets, don't know where you are anymore.
Since I did Lion and Dragon, right? That it's in the introduction to Lion and Dragon that essentially, if you want to play in a medieval setting and for it to make any sense as a medieval setting, it has to have monotheism in it.
Yeah, I agree. And so, so I don't really emphasize a lot of like other gods or anything like that. Like clerics are going to be, they're going to worship the maker, right? That's what they would call. And I borrowed that one from Dragon Age, if you might remember the video game Dragon Age Origins, that they call them the maker, and I thought that's perfect. So
I don't play video games, but I'll take your word for it.
Back when I used to have time for that. that was a good game, but that was years ago. So having that, as far as like, other deities and stuff in the game, like I would permit that, but it wouldn't be on like a socially acceptable scale. It would kind of be like, you're kind of some kind of pagan and, on the outskirts, and people would not, not be embracing of that, or, so it might well exist. Like we might be able to have, Herne the Hunter or whatever, from Barrow Maze, and, but it's not going to have any kind of dominance or anything like that. It would certainly be like on the fringes. So, yeah.
Well, that's pretty much right. Like in Baptism of Fire, there are pagans, obviously, and they worship the Slavic pagan gods or some of the Norse gods or what have you. But it's kind of established in the mechanics of the setting is that the true God is the Christian God in the context of that setting.
Yeah.
And these other gods are basically like nature spirits or, entities, lesser entities, so to say,
Yeah. I think that's a pretty good approach. And then as far as like the greater world building, like it's only a very vague idea. I'm actually kind of waiting for Greg Gillespie to come out with his gazetteer, and then I might just adopt that. And so I'm hesitant to try and build anything out on my own before that happens, just as a matter of practicality. I've been, doing some artistic contributions here and there as well. I'm trying to, I did catch Greg's attention, but he demands very, very high quality stuff for his product, as people can see. So I'm not sure if I'll be able to make any art into his future products, but I'm going to try. I'm going to have a little bit in for Travis's as well. In this very module, actually, the Barrow of the Unbroken King, I'm going to be adding a little bit of headshots and stuff for the NPCs at the back and stuff like that. So right now there's just some stock images there, but I'm going to be drawing up some headshots for those. So when I was younger, I wanted to be a cartoonist, actually. So I was training for that all the way up through high school, but then I decided to do something more conventional because I wanted to have a family, wanted to support a family. So,
So I'm going to do a little break here for the audience, for the part of the audience that are
let's see what they're saying.
My own fans here. Well, there's a lot of people. Flint Fireforge says, as a youth pastor, I agree. He needs to walk in there and flip that table
for the OSR.
Yeah. You gotta be a missionary for the OSR. Adino the Esnite, who I presume is a fellow Mormon, says the evangelicals still hate us. You know?
Yeah. Yeah.
I think they've changed your place, at least in the list of priorities for them. You know, like they realize, well, you know, like the Mormons are not going to destroy American civilization. You know, like
No.
Let's see here. I don't have to, Death Angel Shah said, I don't have to agree with someone's religion or politics to sit down and game with them. I don't proselytize. If people want to know my opinions or faith, they can ask.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I'm the same way in my groups. You know.
Yeah. Yeah, that's kind of a weird standard to set up, you know, for someone that you just specifically want to get together to play with them in a game. You know what I mean?
I mean, if I had a gamer that was in my table that was like, you know, a radical leftist and demanded that be some of their ideas be incorporated into the game or something, that would be a problem, right? It would also probably be a problem if I had like a guy that was like an ultra fundamentalist Christian who wanted to do that too, right? Like, so I'd, you know, like, but for the most part, when I'm running games, you know, it's you have to buy into the game I'm running. But you know, besides that, I'm not going to make like some kind of a political litmus test if you.
Yeah, I feel like that's what the left likes to do, and it's like, you know, it's you know, it's weird. But like, I don't really run into that issue myself because, like I say, I just play with my immediate family, and it's super convenient, and we all think the same about stuff anyway. So, you know, about most everything. So, you know, that's why we have a lot of jokes and laughter around the table. Once in a while, we'll throw out some kind of funny political joke or something, but it doesn't like become the game. You know what I mean? It's just like a, you know, just a random one-off comment that you might chuckle about and move on.
Yeah, I'll comment for the audience that I think it was yesterday or 2 days ago. I finally got out the latest issue of the Pundit Files. It took a long time because there was the publisher was having some issues with completing it, and it is the Pundit Files number 40, I believe. Yeah, issue 40. Which is the Medieval Authentic City Guide to Krakow. So
cool.
If you're playing, I'm going to put the link here.
Does that help you plan out a medieval city?
Baptism of Fire, this is a guide to the largest city in Poland at the time.
Oh, okay.
And you can get it on PDF at the Red Room store while it's still going on. For just $3.50. So if you can get $3.50, you can buy an issue of the Pundit Files, and there's 39 other ones that you'll find are interesting, of all different types of things. There's adventures, there's setting content, there's random table books, there's a guide to horses and jousting. I mentioned earlier in the live stream, all kinds of stuff like that. And just, you know, to let you guys know, so apparently the Red Room, they announced a while back now that they're at the end of the year, they're going to close the Red Room store. Now it's not because of some kind of persecution from gaming or something like that. It's because of the tax laws in Portugal, which is where they're based.
Oh.
And essentially the taxation that because of the store means that they can't really make a good profit off it, you know. So they're going to shut that down, and they're going to sell their books, I think, on Lulu. So when that happens, the Pundit Files, and I think that's happening in December, right? The Pundit Files are going to be gone, at least for the moment. Right. So if there's any Pundit Files that you were thinking of picking up, you're probably going to want to do that in the next month or so at the latest, because after that it'll be too late. So eventually we'll bring them back, probably on drive-through, but we'll see. That might take a while. I don't know. It all depends. And at the same time, my publisher, Mad Hermit, who does the Pundit Files, is also going to be publishing my upcoming Sons of Heaven RPG. So they're going to be pretty busy. So I'm not sure how quickly we'll be putting the Pundit Files back up or in what way. But if there was one that you were looking to get, make sure you get it now before it's gone. Because I don't know when it'll be back. It will be back eventually, because I mean that's the whole point, is that these PDFs are perennial, you know. So we'll put them back either on Drive-Thru RPG or somewhere else. Yeah.
Excellent. Well, that's good. Yeah, that's one of those cases where government, in its over eagerness to tax, ends up destroying their tax base, which is perfectly predictable. You know what I mean? Like a fool could figure that out, but the leftists can't seem to grasp that.
Well, that's right now that's happening in a very big way with the Labour government in the UK. They've just changed they're about to change the tax laws so that like the income tax on like even like the most temporary of jobs, they're like if you're earning less than if you're earning, I forget how much it is, but it's like, I guess if you're earning like £5,000 a year, which is like nothing, right? That you still get taxed, right?
Yeah.
and it's a lot, right? So it's gonna destroy the British economy. It's incredible.
Yeah, Sad Wings Raging just, we brought up the Laffer curve, Art Laffer. That's like a kind of a monetarist type of concept, but yeah, like that really is kind of the idea,
Yeah, but it's absolutely true. It's like it's
indisputable. I think
it's a parabola, I guess you could say that. There's a certain point at which you tax so much that you end up getting less income because people will just move away or they'll stop doing business, right? Because
production ceases. Yeah. Ayn Rand talked about that too in Atlas Shrugged. Essentially, that's it's sad. Like Mandami's going to learn this lesson all over again.
Well, I mean, the prediction. Part of related to a previous job I had after getting my degrees had to do with polling, basically, and with information. I still have a lot of connections there, and there's a very reputable study that was made that estimates that something like 750,000 people are going to leave New York on account of the McNamee policies. Then I mean, it might be a little more, it might be a little less, might be 500,000, but even that's disastrous. The people are going to leave are the ones that have the money, right? They can afford to leave, right? So
why would they stay? Yeah, why would they stay? Like like people who are for these policies are like thoughtless people that support this. Like, put yourself in the shoes of like a producer, someone who has that kind of capital, and they've set up their what they have in New York City, right? And then this politician comes by and is going to threaten their way of living. You would move too. If you were in their circumstance, you would move. So what makes you think they won't? Like.
Well, and right next door to me here, I've got an incredible example of the opposite effect in Argentina, which is that Javier Milei, he cut a ton of the federal government. He just slashed entire departments. Like the famous YouTube clip of afuera, right? And he changed the tax laws, and as a result of that, over the last year, the poverty rate in Argentina dropped from 46% to 32%, right? Which is still a lot.
But it's a dramatic change.
But that literally, in terms of Argentina, that literally means that millions of people have come out of poverty on account of that. So it's remarkable. And that's why he made such a huge win in the legislative elections this past October.
That's the power of the market. And Yeah, no, I think he's great. He actually he's a fan of the same type of intelligentsia that I like when it comes to economics, von
Yeah.
Mises, the Austrian school. So it's really great to see that in put into practice. The good things are going to continue to happen in Argentina if those principles are followed. So,
and you know that his press secretary is a gamer, and he's a big fan of mine. You know,
really?
Yeah. So like a little while ago, like there's this organization in the southern cone of South America called the Mercosur, which was originally meant, like it was set up in the early 90s, and the plan was that it was going to have free trade in the southern cone countries. Originally, it was Brazil, Argentina, and Uruguay, and I think Chile, or Chile might have joined a little later. And that the idea was it was going to be like, an open market for that, right? And
Yeah.
of course, that immediately got bogged down by the fact that most of those countries had fairly socialist governments. Yes. And so the free trade never happened, but the organization still exists, right? And last year, because the Mercosur switches who's in charge, but the capital of the Mercosur is Montevideo. It's Uruguay, right? Because they did that on purpose, because otherwise Brazil and Argentina would have fought over it too much. So they said, it's a little country. Okay. And Javier Milei came to the annual meeting of the Mercosur, and I got a message from this guy, right? And he said, "Oh yeah, I'm from Argentina. I'm coming I'm going to be in Montevideo for a few days. I'd love to meet you," right? And
yeah.
I a message on and so, yeah, great, yeah. So what's bringing you to Uruguay, by the way? Are you planning on moving? So no. It's just, I'm Javier Milei's press secretary, right? And he was like, and this is a guy, right, that he has to go everywhere that Javier Milei is, right?
Yeah.
So he was like, just before the Mercosur meeting, he was in Mar-a-Lago with Donald Trump when Javier Milei was there, and he had been in New York, and he'd been traveling all over the world with this guy. And here he is coming to Montevideo, and the one thing he wants to do is get to sit down and have a coffee with me and talk about RPGs.
Wow, that's
I never
awesome.
felt so famous as that.
Yeah. Well, hello
I'm one
to that
step
guy.
away from the Argentinian president.
Well, hello to that guy. I love your boss, and keep doing the good work you're doing.
Yeah, they've been amazing.
Yes.
I hope that it'll eventually rub off on the other Latin American countries, and in some places it already kind of is. But
good.
The thing is, there's so much like pretty much every party in this country is a statist party, right? Like they all benefit from this massive level of public spending, and so none of them have a motivation to do anything different. And so the problem is that it's like 1/3 of the employed people in the country in some form or another work for the government. So like even if you don't, half of your family does, or something like that, right? So
it's very hard.
Dismantling that becomes very, very challenging.
You have to come to a point of crisis, like how Javier Milei got in. You have to come to a point of crisis before you can change a structure like that. Yeah, it's
but you also need because libertarians are generally horrible at being able to be effective proponents of their philosophy, right? To normal people. But Javier Milei breaks that mold, right? Like he was very well, like I knew about him for years and years, but like 10 years ago, he was already a TV personality, right? And he was talking about these kind of libertarian ideas, and so because of that TV personality background he became convincing. And it's very hard to find, like, you can't just repeat that, right? Like there isn't anyone like that in this country or in Brazil. Well, there might be someone in Brazil, I don't know for sure, but it's very tough.
Yeah.
Sadwings Raging says, I can relate. My bucket list has been killed by the RPG Pundit on it. Okay. I thought you mean in an RPG, Sadwings.
Yeah, Sadwings. He also said The Road to Serfdom is a great book, and it is. I read that. it's an excellent book. I recommend it. I actually bought a copy of it for Josh, my son, and I might even have an extra copy beyond that. It's great. It's almost like it's like a kind of a nonfiction version of 1984 almost, So,
sure.
yeah.
So switching back to RPGs for a moment. So you said before you were playing Dragon Slayer, you were playing Old School Essentials. I don't know if you've heard, but recently there's been this huge wailing and gnashing of teeth over the fact that like OSE started as a basic expert set clone. Yep. And then they did a product where they introduced some elements from AD&D. And now they're saying that they're only going to keep going on that direction. And so they're removing like race as class. And a whole ton of Old School Essential fans have gone like just absolutely nuts online complaining about this. It was a stupid idea for them to do that with OSE. If they wanted to do it with a different game, they could have named it something else and done that, right? But I still don't get it, because it's still just like OSE originally was like clone OSR games. There's clone games, which are also called like first wave OSR, because they were the first ones that were created, right? And then there's games that are not clones, right? Like none of my games are direct clones of an old TSR edition, right? They're all based on old school TSR D&D, but they have different mechanics, right? And there's like OSE wasn't the first one to copy basic expert rules. No. It probably wasn't even the 10th one to do that, right? Like I just do not understand why there's this particular hysteria going on in the Old School Essentials community, which I'm definitely not a part of. But,
I gathered that from your video.
I mean, I as far as I'm concerned, like, okay, the clones made sense at the beginning of the OSR when you couldn't easily get a PDF or a print edition of like the Moldvay box set or something like that, right?
Yeah.
But nowadays, not only can you theoretically do that if you want to buy it off drive-through, right? But you also have, there's like dozens and dozens of clones of every version of D&D, right? So some not very successful, some like OSE very successful, right?
Yeah.
So like, why obsess? Or like, it's, and I know people that have like multiple copies of like of each type of basic expert clone. They're all the same rules, right? All they have that's different is like the art and the layout, but they collected like they were Funko Pops or something.
Yeah, well, that's interesting, because like I know that just not long ago people were kind of complaining that like there's too many BX clones out there, and then when a prominent one's kind of stepping away from that, all of a sudden it's like there's nowhere to go for BX anymore. But like,
it's crazy. Labyrinth Lord has been around for a lot longer,
Yeah. But yeah, Travis, stop crying, rub some dirt on it, just buy Dragon Slayer. Yeah, no, I think that's the way to go, Travis. So you could call me an OSE tard, or at least like up until Dragon Slayer came out. Like I did like kind of market research, because I wanted to get like, the funnest, coolest, D&D OSR thing out there at the time. This was some years ago, a couple years ago. And I kind of, I was liking what I was seeing with the basic, product line from the 80s, which I hadn't had any experience with in my childhood, but I just kind of liked the vibe that it had and everything. So I thought, okay, well, this is cool. And then the more I looked into Old School Essentials, there was a lot of good reviews about it, and so I did get into it. I will say, the things that were appealing to me as a consumer was the books they were attractive. They were nice and tidy. You know, they were high quality books. You know, the covers had, you know, some great art by like Peter Mullen or Stefan. What's the other guy? I can't remember his last name. But anyway, yeah, so presentation wise, it was nice. And it was pretty innovative in some ways. Like you had like the all the rules like on the inside covers, you know, like a lot of people do that now, but BX Essentials or OSE is like the first one to do that. It kind of like broke ground on that. And so I thought that was quite a novelty, very clever. And also it was laid out in a way that was like, okay, this is really easy to understand and, you know, very easy to find, you know, which I appreciate because I don't want to spend a whole lot of time, you know, going around in manuals and things like that. So there was, and then there was just quite a proliferation of products. So it was fun to collect them. You know, it's like, oh, I've got this one, I've got that one. And so they came out in nice box sets too. And then you had like Arrow Lotus even did like a painting for one of their box sets that they had, their most recent one. And yeah, so it was, I think there was a lot that was drawing me to it. And then with the advanced fantasy, it was like, okay, like what if I don't want to play straight BX? What if I want to play AD&D? Well, I can do that within OSE. I can play advanced fantasy and like pull in, you know, like the cool stuff from AD&D and kind of, you know, play it with my BX rules, you know. So that was really cool. So we had a lot of fun doing that while we were on the OSE kick, I guess. But then Dragon Slayer came out, and you know, I love Greg, and I love his products. And Dragon Slayer, like I like it better because it's the art was like so much more captivating. Like the art in OSE was cool. A lot of it was really great. But some of it like didn't quite go, or like the quality of it was like, you know, different in a way that didn't seem to match the theme of the game. And so I thought it was a little lacking there, even though the books themselves were like very, you know, very nice and attractive. Right. But with Dragon Slayer, like when I open this up, like I feel like I'm opening up like an AD&D game. You know what I mean? Like look at this splash page, man.
There's some classic art in there. Yeah.
Yes, like it's so cool. It gives me the type of feelings that I had when I was a young kid and I was looking over my brother-in-law's rule books, you know, because he left them at my house, and you know, just the world of wonder and everything like that. It all kind of returns back to you when you're going through Dragon Slayer. So that's you know, part of what I really love about that. So I do still have a lot of affinity towards OSE, although like, you know, it is a little weird that they're doing what they're doing, like totally dropping the BX thing, because that was like their thing. You know, that's kind of what established them in the market. So I'm a little surprised by that. But
well, it's just such a total, like, I mean, I'm not into the clone games, right? But there are lots of people that are. And the people who are, what they want is for it to be a clone, right? They want it to be a reproduction of one of the original rules. And so as soon as you deviate too much from that, you're going to lose that part of the audience, right? Because for whatever reason, they're like these kind of purists or whatever, you know, that's what they want, you know? So
well, and that was another thing that was kind of cool about OSC was like, hey, do you want like 100% clone of Basic Expert, Moldvay, and Cook? This is, you know, this is it. Like, buy this, and that's exactly what it is. And if you wanted to like add in spice, they had a product line for that. And so like, you know, it was like it was pretty cool. But I don't regret going to Dragon Slayer, because it's like you know.
Yeah,
It's
Dragon
just
Slayer is
really
not a
weird.
clone, but it's very close. It's like it's surprisingly in this day and age for a second wave product, it is very tame, right? It is not, it doesn't go into radical, weird directions in terms of like changing the rules or changing the mechanics or changing the themes of the game, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of funny because in some ways, Dragon Slayer, like the first second wave OSR rule book was basically Lamentations of the Flame Princess, and that came out in like 2008. And
Yep.
it is more radical than Dragon Slayer, right? Like Dragon Slayer is much more conventional compared to Lamentations of the Flame Princess, right? So,
Yeah.
I think Greg is trying to hit this mark of a game that is super close to an old school D&D game without strictly sticking to the mechanics of old school D&D, you know.
Yeah, and then there's also like a vibrant community building around it, which is great because we have like Travis's Kickstarter like that, and so touching on the nostalgia of it, like pressing that button, that's really what gets it for me and a lot of the people that like it. And also like I can trust Greg, you know what I mean? Like he's the type of guy that I know he's not going to like dump on this at some future time. You know, he's gonna like change his mind and go like woke or whatever. He's not gonna do that. Greg,
No, not Greg.
and like with like some of these other creators, I don't really know. But with Greg, I know he's not going to do that. Like I can trust him to like always pay homage to this game that we love, and it's going to be about producing, the game that we want to play. So that's another thing about it. Like with Greg, I feel like that's a home I can really kind of put my bearings down on.
Yeah, and he's in it for the long haul, I think.
Yeah.
So I was sent an article a couple of days ago from The Atlantic. I don't know if you saw this, but it was a very lengthy article that was published in The Atlantic last week. That it was I forget the exact title. It sounded like Elon Musk wants to bring Dungeons and Dragons back to its racist roots or something like that. Like that was it's the most ridiculous thing I've ever read. It's behind a paywall, so you have to be ingenious to get to it. But
I could just I could just see in my mind's eye the person who typed that one up, though.
no, this is the interesting part. Right? I was like going, well, what the hell? Like, first of all, Elon Musk he complained about what the D&D people were doing, like in they did the anniversary book of like the history of D&D, right? That was written by a bunch of these woke so-called RPG historians, right? That essentially in their introduction, they condemned Gary Gygax for his racism and sexism and homophobia and all that sort of thing. So, but that happened like, I think it was at the beginning of the year or maybe like late last year, right? It's like way behind, right? And I'm wondering, like, why the hell would this guy be writing about this now, right? Because it's not like Elon Musk has done anything after that, right? Like he said, "Oh, this is terrible. You how dare you, insult the name of Gary Gygax," because he played D&D as a kid and he liked it, right? And that was basically it, right? But this guy, so I looked, and it turns out that the guy who's written this he's a Brazilian, and that explains a lot because I've been told by there are some really great, very based Brazilian RPG gamers. There's some who are fans of mine, for example, and I appreciate you guys, but a lot of them have told me that a very big part of the RPG hobby in Brazil, which is big, tends to be these kind of, they've gone really all in on this kind of woke leftism stuff, right?
Yeah.
Which is funny because, in Uruguay, you've got a very large share of kind of commie people too, but the culture here, for whatever reason, is like, where when you're gaming, you don't really talk about politics. And I'm sure there's some groups here somewhere that that play, I don't know, feminist D&D or something, but it's not, they don't, there isn't that kind of push in the community of D&D players in Uruguay. But in Brazil, apparently there is, right? And this is a guy, he was partially raised in America because his dad was a diplomat. So that means instantly he's part of that like 1% of Brazilian society, right? He's a champagne socialist.
Yeah.
And he decided to write this, and he wrote it like a year too late, you know, like, and the funniest thing is that he's talking about how, like, you know, D&D will never go back to that because the 5th edition was so incredibly successful. And it was, and it's become so successful because of its modern values that it now has, inclusion in this. And that is a complete lie, because the 5th edition became successful before it got wokeified.
Yes.
And from the moment it got wokeified, its sales started to collapse to the point that now the 5.5 edition, like the other day, Mad Scribe, who publishes Baptism of Fire and Sword and Caravan, you know, my games, some of my games, commented on Diversity and Dragons channel, right? That when 5.5 edition came out, there were games of mine on Amazon, which is not the place that I promote them, right? I promote them to Drive Through RPG because we get a better cut, right? But the sales figures in some of the categories were beating 5.5 edition, right? And I am not I'm not the top seller of the OSR, right? Like, not even close, right? I sell pretty well. I mean, I make a living off it, right? I'm one of maybe a dozen people who make a full-time living off it, but the idea that like Baptism of Fire was outselling 5.5 in Amazon, right? It tells you just how horribly bad their sales are, you know? So like this guy was just completely lost. And on top of it, like I saw a video on YouTube. I wish I'd saved the video so I could post the link here because it was really quite fantastic. I'm going to just check to see if I can look it up in my YouTube history here for a second. But there was somebody who did a very good video on this. Let me just see, because it's got to be somewhere in my history because I watched the whole thing. No, it wasn't there. Problem is, I watch a lot of YouTube these days. Yeah.
You know,
I'm gonna find it here.
Well, if someone does, you know, I'm not surprised that Baptism of Fire is selling well because it's a beautiful product. It looks awesome. You know, when you put that up, like a product like that, up against the gruel that you have of D&D 2024, you know, just slop. It's just, you know, it's a no-brainer. You know, like what do I want to spend my money on? What do I want to spend my time with? It's if that guy was right, and you're right, like he wrote his article a year and a half too late. I don't know why. Maybe he just wants to try and stir the pot again. But you know, the market speaks too at the same time, and like people that like they're not buying D&D 2024. There's no fervor out there for it. You know, a lot of people are like defaulting to, you know, their old 5th edition, or they're like, you know, looking to other games and stuff like that. Yeah. It's like you can only like you can like infiltrate their minds with like communism and stuff like that, but like when it comes to like having them like put their money down, you know, that's like a whole other barrier that you have to.
Communists don't actually care. They care about destroying the existing culture, and like specifically in this article in the Atlantic, the guy was talking about how D&D in the old days was driven by heroic fantasy, but heroic fantasy is actually a kind of a fascist construction or something like that. You know, like it's just so ridiculous. Okay, I found the YouTube guy that did a video on this. I'd never heard of this guy before. He's called the Archcast. I'm surprised I haven't heard of him before, but I think he does like more like video game stuff most of the time, which is probably why. And so I'm just going to post the link here for people who want to don't go to it now, but go to it after we're done the live stream.
Yeah.
So he did a really good takedown video of this article, and like he pointed out, and this is true, that the guy continually says, you know, as a black man, right? I felt this or that, right? Like he does it like multiple times in the article, right? And if you look at the bio picture of him, like, and this is not uncommon in Brazil, right? He's a very, very light-skinned guy, right? He's very clearly what in the U.S. would be called biracial, if that, right? Like, I mean, he might be only like a quarter black or something.
Oh, wow.
And so, like, he looks very, very not black from the point of view of certainly of the United States or UK or something like that, right? But this is, I still understand that he could identify as that, because in Brazil there's this very strict kind of colorist hierarchy, right? Like that you've got Brazilians that are like, you know, pure descendants of Portuguese, and then you have Brazilians who are of mixed race to some degree, right? So I think that's probably a bit of a culture sign, but it's still like he's really leaning into
the race card
skin color a bit too much for a guy as light skinned as he is. You know?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm not racially sensitive about stuff. I'm not. I think it's silly.
Well, I think that he was doing it to give his bona fides as part of the progressive stack, right? He wanted to make it clear he's not a white guy, right? So.
Yeah. Yeah. Put his credentials there. Yeah. No, I introduced a friend of mine, Sam, and you see it on our videos, to D&D. He's never played it before. He's a black guy, and he loves it. He's having a good time. And I have told him like about like what the new current D&D does, and like I showed him, like, for instance, like that picture of like Gay Village or whatever that was, and he's like yeah, I don't want anything to do with that, but he loves playing with us, you know. Because it's like, it's just fun, it's adventure and stuff like that. And it's like, we don't have to make a whole thing about, you know, is this okay for black people or whatever. It's like, look, this is fun, let's go have fun and we'll play.
Well, there's really only one demographic that wants to play D&D, and that's gamers right now.
Yeah.
The nature of culture means that there are certain other demographic groups that are going to tend to have more gamers, and others that'll have less, right? If you come from a culture where playing tabletop games is not like a high priority, you're less likely to become a gamer, right?
Mm-hmm.
And on the other hand, if you come from a culture that does, you're more likely to. And so like that is what explains the racial and gender demographics, right? Because it's you know, like I always think of H.G. Wells made the first modern war game. Basically, it was called Little Wars, right? And the full title of it was Little Wars, a war game of toy soldiers or something like that, for boys and for the smarter type of girls who like boys games. Right? That was the actual. It was like in 1913 when it came out, right? So, and you know, there's a lot of truth to that, right? Like it's not, you know, there are some girls that are going to really enjoy it. There's also a higher likelihood that a girl won't enjoy it compared to a boy, right? Like that's just a biological reality, right? And on the other hand, it's not, I don't think that it's like someone who is not white is biologically inclined not to like it, but they could very well be culturally inclined not to like it, right? One of the reasons that RPGs have not really blown up in places like India or China is because the culture there is very different. People don't get together to play table games, right? Like, you know, unless you're talking about gambling, right? In China, at least, right? In China, gambling is huge, but you know, playing group board games is not really a thing, you know.
Do you think it might have something also to do with like just the setting, like the idea of like a medieval Europe, that they just don't really get
I
into?
don't think so. And I can tell you because of living in South America, right? Like, because people always, like that's always been one of the woke arguments is that, if we make a game that is themed to, like if it's African themed, then more Black people will play it, right? Or if we make a game that has like elements of Filipino culture, then more Filipinos are going to play it, and that's patently untrue. And I can tell you why, because I've been in Brazil, Argentina, and Uruguay, and there's significant gamer culture in all three of those. RPG gamers, right? Tabletop RPG gamers. And in those places, like the most popular games, like in Uruguay, are Dungeons and Dragons, World of Darkness, because they didn't realize, they don't know it's dead yet, I guess. And Call of Cthulhu and stuff like that. Call of Cthulhu is huge in Brazil. Brazil also has their own industry of games, but like the games that they've made there, one of them is basically a Dungeons and Dragons clone, right? Like it's heroic fantasy. Okay. Another one that's very popular there is a game called Defensores de Tokyo, which is a Brazilian game where you basically play guys in mecha, anime style mecha things fighting against Godzilla-like monsters. Like in none of these places will you find that a game about Brazilian culture or about Uruguayan culture or Argentinian culture is the most popular, right? And some people have tried to like make those, but they don't really sell, right? Like people want to play Star Wars, or they want to play DnD, or they want to play Call of Cthulhu. They want to play the exact same thing that people in North America or the UK want to play, right? Like it's
So
well,
that's very interesting. Yeah, that's very interesting.
It's a thematic cultural aspect, right? And like people might play D&D in a different setting if they want to, right? But like the basic, the most popular settings are still like the Forgotten Realms or generic kind of medieval-ish fantasy settings.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it always will be. Yeah, it's just that's the fantasy genre. There's so much there, that's a very interesting observation. Yeah, because I was thinking that maybe that was like a significant part of it, but now maybe not. I don't, I will say, like my friend Sam, who's the Black guy in the game, he wanted to play, and he had no idea about any of this like baggage with the industry. He wanted to play a half-orc character in our Dragon Slayer game. And so like he's going to, and I told him like people don't think well of half orcs, so you're going to experience some of that in the game. And so he already has a little bit, and to him it's like he doesn't say anything about it. Like it's to him it's just like it's the game. You know what I mean? It's like, and I expect that he will never ever make some kind of like personal thing out of it, because like it's just the it's the element of the game, you know what I mean? And like we're immersing ourselves in this game world with these tensions and things like that, and it's like he's not the type of guy that's ever going to take like some kind of personal offense for that. Like so like we can play and like have like a normal fun time and still have those features in the game where there are those tensions. We don't have to be like woke WotC 2024 and like trying to all that.
Like one of the things that really beyond everything else that wokeism has done, it's incredible the way that it's like pussified liberals, because and one of the perfect examples is the most Mormon of D&D settings, Dragonlance, right? That in Dragonlance, the newest version, the one that came out for 5th edition, they decided that they had to change a whole bunch of stuff, right? Now, if you've read the Dragonlance novels, right, there's there's these guys, the Knights of Solamnia, right, who only allowed men, and they had to be from Solamnia, right? It was like a nationalist knightly order, and there was so there were those kind of restrictions, right? And then, but in the course of the novels, by the end of the series, the Knights of Solamnia changed their mind about some of these things. They realized they'd become too rigid, and that almost cost them very badly in the War of the Lands. And so they eventually end up allowing for even for a half elf to become a Knight of Solamnia, or for a woman to be a Knight of Solamnia if they've proven themselves, right? And so that's that's a very classic 1980s sort of liberal concept, right? You see it in a lot of fantasy novels where there's at the beginning of the story, there's certain injustices in the world, and then over the course of the events and the heroism that is displayed, it leads to some kind of social change, right? But in the 5th edition, they decided to make their book set at the very beginning of the War of the Lands, but you could be anybody can be a Knight of Solamnia, right? Anybody can do these things, right? And on top of that, there are some draconians who aren't evil, and all this starts out because otherwise I'd be prejudiced, right?
Yes.
And so what they don't understand is by eliminating that, by eliminating that prejudice, they also eliminate the whole kind of progressive story, right? So even they destroy even their own kind of ideology in the process, right?
They just undermine themselves.
What we want is for everything to instantly be perfect. It's just so ridiculous.
Yeah, and then there's no struggle. They've taken the struggle out, because and they did that specifically with their Radiant Citadel, basically that.
Yeah, totally.
It's here's a communist utopia and everything's great. Hey, let's have a festival because there's nothing else to do here.
I always called it, the eat, pray, love setting. It's just women going on third world tourism to go to night markets.
Yes. Yeah.
So Sadwing Raging posted here. I tried to get Arch to have you on, Pundit. He and Sargon played. I didn't realize you. I should have, from the accent, should have guessed he was in part of Sargon's crew. Well, if you talk to him, tell him that I was very impressed by his video on the Atlantic article, and I'd be happy to go on. What was I going to say now? Oh yes. So you are an accountant by trade, is that correct?
Yeah, professionally, I'm an accountant. I actually I don't work specifically as an accountant per se, but I'm more of in a consulting role.
Okay. Well, I wasn't planning on bringing up this topic, but I guess you're definitely going to be more of an expert on it than I am. But I was just really. I'm rarely critical of anything that Donald Trump does, but this whole idea of the 50-year mortgage, right?
Oh,
I live in a third world country, right? And as such, it has a very different kind of division of social status than in a first world country, but not so much anymore because you guys are getting really close to it. Where what you have is there's a tiny 1% of the population that are super rich, right? And then you have a very small group of the top level professionals, and also people who have just lucked out by getting into high positions of government, who have who are quite financially stable. And then after that, you have what they like to call the middle class, but in any other country, it would be seen as at best the lower middle class, right? And then you've got maybe I think about 12% of the population are basically indigent poor, right? That live off of welfare, and everybody else is working class, right? But this middle class, supposed middle class, I've come to realize while I've been living here, they are in a very precarious position because they have all these social expectations of what a middle class person in the first world would want to have, right? So they want to have a nice apartment, they want to have a nice car, or a house or whatever. and they want to go on vacations and they want to do all this stuff. They want to dress in, if you're middle class and up, you have to dress nicer in Uruguay than you do here. People always think this is like a costume or something. It's not. It's how people dress. Like people of the middle class, at least middle class and up. But the thing is, their salaries are much lower for the same job than they would be in, say, the United States or Canada, right? Well, I don't know about Canada anymore, but in the United States for sure. And so what happens is they are constantly juggling debt, right? Massive amounts of debt. And one of the things that has been done in Uruguay to maintain this illusion and to keep the thing running, which is like, it's obviously a death spiral, but what they've done is that like you can get anything on like on installments, right? So like I have seen people go, well, I mean, it happens to me, right? I go to the supermarket, right? And I buy like $20 worth of food, right? And I pull out my card, and of course my cards aren't even Uruguayan, so they can't actually do this, but the cashiers are trained to ask, how many installments do you want to put it in?
For your groceries?
For food, yeah, for your groceries, yeah. and because there are people, they can do it in like up to, I don't know if it's 12 or 20 installments. It depends, I think, on the card, right? So like for groceries, right? So like there are people that are just doing that. They're doing installment payment on everything to be able to juggle, to maintain this pretend lifestyle that they have. Right? And when I saw the whole thing about 50-year mortgages, I said, okay, that's like a Uruguayan thing, right? Like that's a Latin American that's a Latin American shithole country thing that's going on there. Right? Like, because a 50-year mortgage, it's insane, like.
Yeah.
I can't believe it. Like, it doesn't solve anything, that's for sure.
No, yeah, I'm not an expert on 50-year mortgages, but like I will say, like in my estimation, it just seems like a way to make you a permanent mortgage paying customer to the bank your entire life. You know what I mean? And so you never get it paid off. You never get free and clear. Like, let's say you're 30 years old when you buy a house and lock into a 50
when you're done, yeah.
You're 80 when it's done. You might not even live that long, like lifespan wise. When you have great grandkids, you're gonna still be owing on your original first mortgage. It's just, if you keep that house, I don't like the idea of it. I think that people need to get back to a little bit simpler way of living. Like you buy a house that is it's not the fanciest one on the block necessarily, but it's good enough for you and your family. And maybe you feel like, hey, I bet if I spend some time and some years, I can fix this up and I can make it nice. So you try and make make decisions like that and hopefully avoid those kinds of situations and not be house poor. But yeah, no, 50-year mortgage, I'm certainly not comfortable with that at all.
Like there would have been a time that would have been probably illegal, right? Because the amount that you end up paying in the form of interest is by the end of it, it's monumental. Yeah. It's way more than a 20-year mortgage or something like that. Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, it is. And I can't believe the whole thing, the story you told me about people, having their groceries on installments. Like, that's a nightmare to me. Like, because you're still paying down last month's groceries. And in the meantime, you've gone to the store another 8 times and you're pushing that out to the
balancing it out. Like, you're always just, it's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. Oh, and like there are times when I just, put down the credit card or the debit card, and they say, how many sauces? I say 1. And I go, oh, like as if I'm a big spender or something.
Yeah, whoa, this guy's
not necessarily for groceries, but whatever, right? And then I have to say, well, that's not even a Uruguayan card. You literally can't do that, like with a foreign card, right? You could only do it with Uruguayan debit cards, which I don't have. So it's just nuts. can't imagine, but it's true. And like, I know, yeah, I've met a lot of people in the middle class in Uruguay, and most of them, they'll, you know, it's not polite to talk about it, of course, right? But
No,
you
about how much trouble
you
they're in.
know, sooner or later, if you get to know these guys, you know which ones are like horribly in debt, right? And it's a lot of them. It's very few people who aren't.
Ooh, yeah, that's hard. Yeah, well, when you get a critical mass like that and everybody is like indebted, that's bad. That's a bad thing for your country. Yeah. I you know,
and keep in mind, Uruguay is one of the better economies of South America. You know,
yes, yeah,
it's doing quite well compared to a lot of them. You know,
yeah. Well, I mean, kind of going back to the religion thing again, as far as like eschatology and things like that. I don't think this current system is going to last. You know, you talked about, you know, great grandkids seeing things on YouTube or whatever. I think there will be a fundamental change in the world before that time, and everything's going to change. But of course, in my belief system, that means Jesus is going to come back to the world, and you know, there'll be calamity before then, things like that. But barring that, I think that there are so many signs that, you know, things are like screeching to a halt, coming to a collapse point, that everyone can kind of feel it. Everybody knows it, you know, and so there seems to be this consensus that like everybody knows that this is not, it can't continue. And so there's going to be some kind of fundamental change in the way things are. But you know, what you think that change might be and how it'll look is a kind of a matter of a belief system, maybe.
Well, I am very concerned about the potential collapse of Western civilization. I certainly think that's a real risk.
Yeah.
As far as eschatology, I have the professional deformation of being a, you know, religious historian and comparative religion academic, and I have seen basically every generation thinks that they're living in the end times, right? At least in the Christian West, right? So my perspective, like I'm very I'm constantly amazed by the wisdom that is found in the Bible, but I put very little stock on attempting to interpret, you know, the Book of Revelation. You know, like it's I think that you know, it's always said that no man will know the hour, right? So like I think that was pretty explicit from the start. You know, I that's the one that I take the most symbolically out of all the books, you know.
Well, that's fine, you know. Like I say, I don't want to make any division across religious lines, and but like my thinking and my values are informed by Mormonism, and I think that shows through. But I want to do that in a way that's like inviting to other people who might share those senses, those values. You know what I mean? Like, hey, I like this guy. Like, look at the way he runs his family, and hey, this guy, you know, he said this or that Bible thing. Or
I want to clarify that I don't want to. I'm not poo-pooing the concept of the second coming. I'm poo-pooing the idea of people making timelines to try to like determine when the second coming is happening, right?
Yeah, like, there's always
always go wrong. You know, like so far their success rate has been 0, right? In 2,000 years.
Yes, that's got a long history of that not working out.
I mean, in like baptism of fire, you know, like that's set in the starting point of the campaign is 1025 AD, right? And in 1030 AD, there was a fanaticism, an end times mania that happened because the idea was that there was a belief that Christ was crucified in 30 AD, right? And so it was 1,000 years. 1,000 years, right? And so people went nuts that year because of that, you know.
Yeah, yeah. Well, kind of same thing around when we hit the year 2000 as well. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, that was the peak apocalypticism of our lifetimes, I think, so far.
yeah,
Um,
yeah, for sure.
There's
Yeah.
a question for you here from one of our viewers. DnD Dad, is there a drill that you go through to check whether a module is PG/G rated and whether you need to change much? I agreed to run for my friend's kids, but I'm a bit afraid.
Yeah. Well, like I said, like I'm really not the connoisseur of modules, so I don't know how helpful my answer will be. But I will tell you this: like I feel like you're pretty safe with a lot of stuff from the 80s, you know, from TSR era. So if you want to play old modules, I think you're going to be okay there. Like depending on what you know, what you think is going to be appropriate with your kids. But yeah, I would feel pretty comfortable with anything from the 80s usually, like you know, as long as it's like, you know, there might be like a topless you know, monster like
Naked succubus or something like that.
Yeah. But like you don't have to show that to your kids. Yeah, there's I think it would be okay. Like the thing that I'm most worried about, because like that stuff I can like filter out from them. The thing that I'm most concerned about is like buying a product that is like geared towards like wokeifying my kids, and you know, not realizing that until I've already bought it, you know. And then, you know, that's and I know that we're not going to have that issue with like older stuff or stuff that's coming out from like, you know, around, you know, an RPG like Dragon Slayer, which Travis Faber's stuff is like an example of that. This one's this is a playtest version, but this is the Barrow of the Unbroken King. So there's nothing in here that's going to, I've read through most of it. There's nothing in here that's going to like, you know, be troubling, I think, for your kids. If like if they're old enough to deal with like D&D and the hack and slash, I think that, you know, they'll be good with that. The stuff that I worry about most though is really like, essentially it is like political usually, because that's kind of the off ramp into the amorality, as far as I can see. Because the stuff that's like, you know, the stuff that's a little less PG-13, like you can definitely screen that out as a parent. So it's the trickier things. That's the stuff that I worry about more. Yeah, don't. Travis says don't run Strixhaven for your kids. Yeah, that kind of a thing. Like might seem fun, like just to, if you get like a 2, you know, sentence blurb about what like the adventure's about, but then like you buy the thing, you've dropped money on it, and then you like open it up and it's like, holy crap, you know, this is like, I don't. You know, my kid's going to have blue hair by the end of this module. And then you've done it to them.
I just want to say that if anyone runs baptism of fire for their kids, I take no responsibility if after that they want to go around killing pagan witches. Okay?
Yeah, that was actually a lot of fun. Yeah.
All right. Yeah. So there's something else that I was looking to talk about here. No, I don't think so. Yeah, I've covered most of the topics, and a few I wasn't expecting to do. So guys, if you guys have any other questions for D&D Dad, this would be the moment to jump in and present your questions. Also, you may have noticed that this live stream, while it's live, is not monetized. So if you want to support me and make a donation to Domino's Cat Toy Fund, then I will be very happy to welcome your super chats. If you do a super chat, then I will obviously read what you've written, as long as it won't get me demonetized.
Yeah, and maybe I'll do like a real quick description of my channel for some people that might not be aware. It is like it's a family channel. So I play, with my kids. That's a lot of what I do. Kind of the bread and butter is like it's not really live play. It's like after the fact. Like we video it, we do minor editing, and then we put our play sessions up online for people to see. We also do like some commentary videos as well. So, if there's been some kind of a crazy video or something, then we might cover it and talk about it, for content. And so we have done some of that. And so you'll get from that. You'll get me talking about the situation, and then I'll be talking with my older 2 kids, and they have pretty good heads on their shoulders, and we just kind of talk about it, from my perspective as an adult and from their perspective as kids and everything. And then we also have interviews as well. So we've had Pundit on for interviews. I've had Greg Gillespie. I've had the Basic Expert on there. I've had Travis Faber's been an interviewee as well. And, so it's something that I'm going to keep going. But yeah, it's a bit of a mixed bag, but it is, I think if you had to characterize it, it's a family channel. It's kind of like God, Family, Country kind of channel. And, it's just kind of for the love of the game type of a channel. So, all right. If your kids play Baptism of Fire, they will set the Western world straight again. Yeah.
Poland likes to do that kind of thing, yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely do not expose your kids to Arch. Love the guy, but he's not PG material. Yeah, even in that video, I wouldn't necessarily suggest that a kid should watch it.
Yeah, and we met James Raggy at
oh jeez.
Yeah, North Texas.
Not show Lamentations modules to your kids, dude. Do not do that.
Yeah, I know.
Straight, totally out. Don't do it.
Yeah, that's right. I went up. I introduced my son to him, but we didn't spend any time looking at products. I just told him, "Hey, Josh, this is James Raggy. He's, notable for, Lamentations of the Flame Princess, very popular and early work in the OSR, and like, but yeah, no, I, because like that's too much even for me. Like I couldn't, I wouldn't indulge in that kind of product. It's just it's not for me. But no hate against James. Like, I wouldn't want him to feel badly. I think he's very talented.
Yeah, but I mean, James knows what he's making and who he's making it for. I suspect he doesn't have a lot of religious Mormons as part of his.
I don't think so. Yeah.
Customer base,
Yeah. Yeah, but good heads up. Like, that's one thing I like about Diversity in Dragons is like, they give you a heads up about like what's out there that's woke. You know what I mean? And like, so where the dangers are, and like kind of who you can feel confident about buying from and who you shouldn't. So that's a really good public service, actually.
Yeah. Well, guys, unless there's some other question for DnD Dad, I guess we're about ready to wrap things up. It's been 2.5 hours almost, so that's not bad.
All right.
It's probably getting to your bedtime, so
yeah.
So thank you very much for having been on here, and I really appreciate it. And I guess I'll probably go on to your channel at some point in the near future if you want me to still.
Oh, I'd love that. Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah, the outside points out there's the original. There's the on the RPG site, which is the internet forum that I have been running now for, how long is it? For 20 years almost. There is a sticky thread called the Consumer's Guide to TTRPGs, which basically lists RPG companies, specifically OSR, but also a number of other ones that aren't OSR that get on there, that are marked, categorized between like, red for woke products, right? Yellow for kind of in the middle, and then green for products that are not woke or anti-woke.
Yeah.
Link to the guest's channel. Sure. Let me put that on here. It's in the description of this video, but I'll put it on the chat for.
Yeah, well, I sure do hope that your listeners had a good time. I had a good time. I think that you guys are great. You listeners are awesome, and thanks for indulging me, and thanks for having me on the show, Pundit.
Yeah, my pleasure. I'm glad to do it. There you go. Oh wait, that's the wrong one. Somebody just jumped in with a quote. Great, Ryan's a great guy. Subscribe to his channel. Also buy Pundit Works, especially Baptism of Fire. Thank you very much. And well, keep your eyes open. Probably early next year will be the release of my next big RPG, which is Sons of Heaven. Which
nice.
Some of you who have been looking at the Pundit files will know it's a space opera RPG set in basically a collapsed human federation or confederation. It's got some interesting elements, but it's pretty classic sort of space opera stuff. But it has, the player characters can go around being, they could go around being space pirates if they want to, or they can go around being treasure hunters, or they can be part of the group that is trying to reestablish the human intergalactic community after an equivalent of like a Bronze Age collapse in space, right?
Oh wow,
so
that's cool.
It's very interesting themes, and it's looking good. I'm currently doing the proofreading of the book, so it's basically written, but I've still got about halfway through to finish editing it, and then it'll be going to the publisher, and then the publisher will be taking care of the rest. So we'll see when it comes out, but it probably won't come out until early next year. I'll keep you guys posted. And meanwhile, check out all my products. Links to all of my products are in the description of this video, and you can find most of them on drive-thru, except for the Pundit files, which you'll find in the Red Room store. And I do encourage you to take a look. None of them are anywhere near woke, and pretty much none of them are, going to be rated, going to be rated above PG, I would say. Travis, it's Mad Hermit Press, the same guys who are doing the Pundit files are going to be publishing Sons of Heaven, because I've put a number of the issues of the Pundit files are segments of what are going to be in Sons of Heaven. So if you want a preview of what the style is going to be like, you can find it in those Pundit files. All right, so I guess that's everything for tonight. Check back with us in 4 weeks, which is to say, let's see, this was the 16th. So I guess it'll be the 14th of December. Where we will have the next RPG Pundit Encounter. The guest will be named sometime later on, but I hope we'll see you all there. Currently smoking is Master de Paya bent apple plus Argento roots. Take care, everyone.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.